Hello everyone and welcome to Fuse Room Recording Studio. I'm Alberto, and in this fifth chapter of our Mixing Decision series, we're gonna talk about the same mix with the Waves SSL E channel. So we're gonna go through the same rundown as we did last time and as we did the time before the last time, but using the SSL from Waves. All right, let's get at it. So kick drum. I have this set up with a starting point called Fuse Room Start once again, and this has my usual, as I already said, settings for a starting point for the channel strip. All right, snare drum. As we said, it's top and bottom and gets summed into this all SD channel. All right, I like it. And now we know they go through, these two snares summed together go through two parallels. One is called Splash and the other one is called TD, which is Transient Designer. So let's hear how this snare sounds with the parallel. All right, I like it. Let's go to the hi-hat. Well, let's go to a part where the hi-hat plays, which is gonna help us. All right, that's it. You notice I don't want to get the hi-hat too bright. It gets boring very fast. You might be tempted to do it, but it gets boring super fast. So I like it when it's sandy, when it has that, brass kind of tone. Now, overheads. Let's pick a longer part. All right, I like it. I might filter that out of conscience. But as you notice, I'm already cutting, taking out a shelf at 50 Hertz -9 or something. So it works, I think. I'm tempted again to compress it, but this time I'm going lighter than I would usually go for, because I'm hearing that 400 Hertz resonance of the snare being brought up. So today, don't want to do it. Room, great sounding room. The kick drum clears up a little bit when we go high pass up, right? But I like some of the muddy tone. This was a great room tone to start with. So let's go toms. And now, as usual, let's find a part where the toms play. We always use this. So for consistency's sake, I'll use this part. Not that it matters, but... So rack tom first. We'll make the part a little bit longer. As you know, toms are boring because you tend to loop them a lot. I like them. I might err on the fatter side, but maybe. That's it. It's a rock tune. It's not overly specialized fusion things where you want to hear every single perfect tone of tom. It's more of a feel. It has to contribute to the message that the drummer is sending. The section is changing, right, of the song. So now we go floor tom. There's a crescendo here that we always used. As usual, again, with compression, the tom sound, especially this floor tom crescendo, changes. And I like it both ways. I can't make my mind whether I want it more snappy and like present, or I want it more atmospheric, like sort of tribal kind of sound. Let's leave it as is. And let's go forward to the bass. So bass, again, is a Fender Precision DI. Nice, it just stays in place. And I know in this plugin I have a visual reference for the sort of fingering of the bass, and it's around the 300 mark number, which we know 300 hertz is a lot of finger from the bass. But there's this in between 0.8 and 1.5 on the green that just has that, especially on Fender bass, it's like it works. So, all right. So then we go for the fuzz, which is a channel that we made through a big muff. That's it. I don't want to do more than that. It's just a little bit of color. And then we go to the guitars. Alright, no compression this time. I can't remember whether I compressed these guitars or not last time, but I don't care. It's about mixing decisions today. So, chorus, we made the deal to not use this SSL on the chorus guitars. We said they're fine, we're gonna build around that. So here's how they sound. All right, but there's this in-between part of mono guitars, right? So we're gonna have this G3 play slightly heading from the chorus into it and then back into the chorus. So we need this to be ugly good, because it's a contrast between mono and stereo opening guitars, right? It's getting there. Now I want to cut something somewhere. It'd be great to know where. There we go. So around 300 something, I just boosted a little bit of that part. The guitar doesn't move, right? It's just a single chord part. So you can really find the frequency where the harmonics that you want to emphasize are. You don't have to worry about the fact that they will shift when the guitarist will change chord, because here it's never gonna change chord. So at least for this part. Now we go to G8, which is complementary to this 3, guitar 3. It's this high part, right? So they don't have to fight together, they have to work together. Now that I hear both, I want to be able to change both at the same time. Because I want to focus more on 1.5. And then we use a bell for the highs. Let's see if it works. So as you can see, I use the bell on the high frequency band, but then I compensated with the low pass, and that creates a sound that's very suitable for electric guitars, in my opinion. That's maybe one of the few times where I use a bell on the highs. So there you have it. Now, 2 more guitars, G9, G10, they work together. It just makes sense if we do them together. I really like how you can still feel the bass and hear the bass, but the 100 of the guitars is like building around that bass sound, and they work together. I'm not gonna touch it. Let's go to G13, which is a solo. And here we go. All right, this is like the fastest solo EQing in the world, but it works. And I like how G3 comes back very prominent, very raw, very centered. Remember, this is just to launch the stereo chorus guitars. So again, not gonna touch it. And now, the long-awaited moment, this is keyboards, which is me playing these keyboards. So a lot of little fatty tracks. Let's hear them in context. this works. Let's go to the second one. So we're compressing, we're like reducing even more its dynamics, which it doesn't have, but what happens is the compressor is leveling the frequencies. If you look at the waveform, you might ask, like, why are you compressing this thing? It just doesn't have dynamics, it's just a steady flow of things. But the frequencies that we're tweaking get then sort of rebalanced by the compressor. It happens every time you have a compressor after an EQ, but it's specifically valid as a concept in the SSL channel strip. At least I find that. So we lengthened the release a little bit, and then threshold and blah, blah, blah. So it works. And now we go to K3. Great. Now the keyboard parts are practically done. I want to do vocals and then do, I only have one more than I want to do. I'm going to do this keyboard and then we're going to do vocals and then we're going to do the rest, which is keyboard 4, 5, and 6. Let's do 7 first. Right? I think I want it this thick, but yes, more compression with less ratio. That's sort of like place it where I want it. It has to be on the back, but it has to stay there. All right, so before doing the rest of the keyboards, let's go to the vocals and then we finish them. All right, I like it. This was pretty fast. You remember, the problem might be that we get S's in there and we can't use the S's. This is a quick rundown with just a channel strip. So these I like, I don't want to touch. I want to go to the final part here and see if it works. Right, it does have to have the 200 chest, right? Because he goes up there and then all you have is these high frequencies, and the singer is no longer there. Now there's plenty of techniques to have the vocals float. It's the endless holy grail search for every sound engineer. But as far as using one channel strip, pretty happy. So vocoder and then rest of keyboards. So here it has to be a supportive role, right? It has to be of support. So let's try and make it support by lengthening release and have it, the compression, just keep it afloat. Not too glassy, but supportive, right? I think it works. We'll see if we want to go there. There's this 3.5K, which might be dangerous to tweak, but so far I like. And no lows, no mediums, that's it. We also have effects going on. As I said, 2 plates and 2 delays, one for chorus and one for verse. We leave it where they are. Let's see how this thing sounds when we have finished these keyboards here. 2 keyboards, left and right panned, so it makes sense that we go left and right and we tweak them together. I like. Now here there's practically no guitars, so these 2 scenes have to build the whole soundstage for the vocal to be there, and that's why I'm doing it with context. There's no way you can do this just by using your memory. Now let's make sure the 2 keyboards are not overly left and right. Your meters are gonna help you. There you go. It was like a little bit right oriented, sorry. So this is it. Let's see in the loudest part, which is this, whether or not my initial mastering compressor for the mix bus is being hit the right way. You remember, this is where I like to see just barely the needle moving, 1 dB, something like that. And what I'm looking for is the pocket has to go all together. Vocals and snare, which are the things with the transients and high frequencies, they are gonna be on, floating, surfing on the surface. They must not leave the water surface. They have to stay there, right? And this is gonna help. Maybe without solo, it's gonna help better. There you go. I don't even have to listen to it anymore, but let's try with 5 and 7 for those of you who really want to feel that. So you hear how much it changes from 5, 6, and 7, which are 3 values that I would probably use. And sometimes I like 7, so I would keep it on 7. But sometimes I have the band with me or the producer or whoever it is, because this is pretty much a producer decision to just build the soundstage, how much you want singer and snare to pop out. Personally, I really like 7 and I would go with that. Everything else afterwards, which is explained in the second video, the session overview, is being leveled by this first compressor. So all I have to do for things to work the way I usually, want them to sound is just to fine tune that one optical compressor. So we only have one keyboard left, which is I left the best for last. This is my signature sound solo. Let's, fine tune. It's a feature in the chorus itself. All right, and I like it. And it sounded great, but I gave it half a dB more because I'm the sound engineer and keyboards player in this project, so I get to have these half dB jolly that I can, like a Joker card, play anywhere I like. So this is done. I don't need to tweak anything else, and we're gonna basically print this thing, and this is it. It's not the final mix. Again, it's not, doesn't represent the finished mix, but this would represent the way I would run through a plugin like the channel strip emulation for SSL by, in this case, Waves, to get in the pocket of how I like the mix. You don't need 365 days to do it. You just need this amount of time, or less if you have more coffee. Ciao.